You probably remember the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. A mysterious man in colorful clothes shows up in a rat-infested town, plays his magic pipe, and leads all the rats into the river to drown. The townspeople refuse to pay him, so he comes back, plays his pipe again, and this time, leads all the children away, never to be seen again. It's a classic creepy fairy tale, right? But what if I told you it might not be a fairy tale at all? What if something truly terrible happened in the German town of Hamelin back in the 13th century? Let's dive into the dark history behind the legend. The oldest known record of this story isn't about rats at all. It comes from a stained glass window that was in the church of Hamelin, dating back to the year 1300. The window is now lost, but historical descriptions of it tell us it depicted a piper in colorful clothing leading a group of children. An inscription reportedly said, "In the year 1284, on the day of Saints John and Paul, was the 26th of June. By a piper, clothed in many kinds of colors, 130 children born in Hamelin were seduced and lost at the place of execution near the coffin." Notice something missing? No rats. The rats were only added to the story centuries later, possibly to make it more of a moral lesson about keeping your promises. The original event was just about the disappearance of 130 children. This is also backed up by town chronicles from Hamelin. One entry from 1384 states, "It is 100 years since our children left." For centuries, the town's official records started counting the years after this tragic event. A street in the town was even named Bungalow Senstras, the street without drums, because no music or dancing was ever allowed there, as it was the last place the children were seen. This wasn't just a story. It was a deeply ingrained local trauma. So if it wasn't a magic piper, what really happened to those 130 kids? Historians have a few compelling and frankly chilling theories. One of the most popular theories is that the Pied Piper was actually a recruiter for what is known as the Children's Crusade. This was a real, disastrous movement in the early 13th century, where preachers convinced thousands of children and teenagers to march to the Holy Land. The idea was that their innocence would peacefully convert Muslims, where adult armies had failed. The piper might have been one of these charismatic recruiters, and the colorful clothes could refer to the bright tunics of his organization. Tragically, most of these children never made it. Many starved, died from disease, or were sold into slavery in North Africa. This fits the timeline and the idea of children being led away to a terrible fate. Another theory points to the great wave of German eastward colonization during this period, known as the Aussiedlung. Life in 13th century Germany was tough: overpopulation, famine, disease. Land agents, known as locators, would travel from town to town, recruiting people to migrate and settle new lands in Eastern Europe, like Poland, Prussia, and Transylvania. These locators often wore fancy, colorful outfits to attract attention and used musicians like pipers and drummers to draw a crowd. Perhaps the Pied Piper was a locator who promised a better life to the young people of Hamelin. The lost at the place of execution could be a grim metaphor for the incredible dangers of the journey, or it could refer to a specific location where they met a disastrous end. It's possible the children who left never returned, but their descendants might still be living in Eastern Europe today. A third, even darker theory suggests the children were victims of a natural disaster or a plague. The story could be an allegory. For instance, some historians think the piper represents death itself. The dancing children could symbolize the convulsions and twitching associated with diseases like the bubonic plague or ergotism, a type of poisoning from fungus on rye bread that causes hallucinations and spasms. In this version, the story of being led away is a way for the traumatized survivors to explain a sudden, mass death of the town's youth that they couldn't otherwise comprehend. The piper didn't lead them away. He was a personification of the plague that took them. Whatever the true story is, a tragic crusade, a hopeful migration gone wrong, or a devastating plague, it's clear that something awful happened in Hamelin on June 26, 1284. The fairy tale we know today is likely a distorted memory, a colorful story spun around a core of real historical pain. It's a haunting reminder that sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that are actually true. What do you think happened to the children of Hamelin? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this historical deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.